welcome to Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt with the Sacramento Report. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the Republican reaction in Sacramento to Governor Brown's State of the State speech and his proposed budget. Thanks for joining us. My guest this segment is Brian Jones, who's the Assembly Republican leader in the Assembly, obviously.
Right.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be the caucus chairman and be a part of the leadership there with the Assembly Republicans.
So what is the view from your caucus of the governor's outline vision for the state of California in the next 12 months?
Well, we've got a very important role. We're calling ourselves the watchdogs of Sacramento government to just make sure that the governor does exactly what he says he's going to do for the voters of California and the taxpayers of California. There's a lot of things that he wants to do that we don't want him to do. For example, high-speed rail. We think that's a boondoggle that's not good for the state. He's committed to that. There's some things that he is committed to that we support. CEQA reform, California Environmental Quality Act. He wants to reform that. Some local control of school districts. We think that Sacramento's intruded too much into control of the school districts, and we need to return that to the local area. One of the things I get nervous about on that, though, is his definition of local control and mine might be two different things. I realized after the State of the State address, he might be talking about local school districts being able to raise their taxes on a lower vote threshold, which is not something that I would support.
And that, of course, that's legislation that is starting to move through the legislature right now.
It's been rumored, right? Yeah, that's exactly right.
Been introduced already.
Yeah, exactly.
But CEQA control, for example, or CEQA modification is something that Republicans in the business community have been screaming for years, probably going back to 1970 when Ronald Reagan signed the bill.
Exactly. And I think to some degree, I believe the governor is genuine in wanting to reform that. Unfortunately, the reforms that we've seen so far have been kind of piecemeal, and the reforms have gone to traditional supporters of the governor that, I want to see those reforms broad and, throughout the entire state, not just on particular projects.
We did see one project, the stadium project in Los Angeles, for example, where they said, okay, let's sort of ease the regulations a bit. It seems like he's talking about, of course we won't know it until we see it, that broad reform so that it would be easier to undertake significant projects.
Right. And that's what I'm hopeful for, is that we will have those broad reforms.
Let me ask you about another component of the governor's budget, and that's the education funding component, where he wants to give more money to districts in impoverished areas and those that have to spend more to teach English, for example, to non-English speaking kids. That seems to be lining up as an urban versus suburban fight, isn't it?
Well, and that puts me kind of in a predicament with my district because I represent the rural area of San Diego County, but I also represent 2 incorporated cities as well with local school districts. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. The most important thing about education is he gave a very impassioned promise that tuition will not increase at CSU, UC, and community colleges. But there's nothing in law currently that holds him to that. So I've co-authored a bill, AB 67, that will promise the students that there will be no tuition increases for the next 7 years.
That's while the temporary taxes are in place.
Exactly. Right.
Very quickly, we're almost out of time. 1% reserve for economic uncertainties, or rainy day fund, that could go away in an instant.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you like to see more? Yeah,
1% is not very much. My city council that I was on, we got up to as high as 29%, and that, when things started to degrade, it went away very quickly.
All right, well, we're out of time, but Brian Jones, thanks for coming by, giving us the Republican perspective on the governor's budget. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
And thanks to our viewers for watching Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. A reminder, you can see this and other interviews on YouTube, also on My Government on Demand. I'm Steve Swatt. Have a great day.